Do you want to live a life of freedom and adventure? Are you wanting more than the daily grind? Me too. Welcome to the Emma Lovell Show, a place where we talk about living a life you love now. I'm your host, Emma Lovell, and my number one value is freedom. I've spent the last 14 years running a business and traveling the world, and now I take my husband and toddler along for the adventure too. It's possible, and I know you can create a life doing what you truly love as well. This podcast will inspire, motivate, and encourage you to go after your dreams, to create a life you love and to live it now, not wait for retirement or someday in the future. I'll be sharing episodes weekly about how I harmonize business, travel, and self-care. I'll also bring on incredible guests to share their journeys, the wins, the challenges, and how they're creating a life they love. Let's jump in and get dreaming. This is a space for you to manifest a life you love. I would like to acknowledge and recognise Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples as the first peoples of this place, now known as Australia. I am grateful for the continuing care of the land, waterways and skies where I work, live, listen, learn and play. From here on Yugambeh country and from wherever you are listening, I pay my respects to the elders past and present. Welcome to the Emma Lovell Show today, and I have with me the wonderful Jessamyn McLachlan. Welcome.
Hi, Emma. Lovely to be here.
Now, you are here because I heard we are in the same mastermind, and I heard you say, I think you were on your first podcast, or you were like, I think I should do more podcasts. And so I messaged you, and it might have been, I was joining in that call from ages ago, and I was like, you can be on my podcast. And here we are.
Yeah. That it was a bit of a goal this year, to be a bit more visible in this way and in this kind of lovely relational way, which is more natural for me.
I love it. Well, tell us a little bit more about you and your business, and there is a bit of a backstory to why you need to be more visible.
So I have a digital content agency called Felt. We help business put the human and the heart into their communications through creating content that connects. And we've done that for a very long time. It's very on trend now to do it this way, but we've been doing it for almost 11 years this way. And I've stuck to my guns all those years. And at times probably I thought, what am I doing? And it's interesting now in 2025, it kind of all makes sense because I was obviously meant to be, really building my skills in learning how to do it this way. We run full social media management and marketing coordination for small heart-led businesses, often artisanal, community-based. We do a lot in the wine industry and a lot in the booze industry, as I say, the crafted booze industry. But we help others as well, healers, guides, coaches. And then I have a membership called the Heartfelt Story Circle, and I coach people one-to-one with digital coaching. And the membership is why I joined the mastermind, to really bring that to life, and that's how we ultimately met through Kerry Rowett's mastermind.
Yes, so yeah, Kerry's wonderful. I think I've been in there since January, so you've been in there longer than me. It's now November, so nearly a year for me. It's wonderful because there's all the calls from the very beginning. So for me, I probably got to know you more before you got to know me, because when you're watching the calls and you start to connect, and I definitely learn by engagement, or I need connection. I can't just watch stuff. Oh, if I want to watch stuff or listen to stuff, it's a podcast but if I'm in a program, I need to connect, and I know that I get more out of it. The more I've connected, the more I've got out of it. And yeah, definitely enjoy your contributions and hearing your journey.
I think we're very much aligned in that as a group, aren't we? We are quite, everyone is quite connection driven, which is probably what makes it a lovely space for us connected driven people.
Well, and to know that you're not alone. So it's an interesting, so we to tell a little bit about Kerry's group. It's she uses Slack, which I was like not sure about at first, but it is quite a cool platform once you got to get the hang of it. But there's private coaching, but all of us can see the private coaching. It's not private, it's coaching. So all of us can see that. And then there's like a group chat and there's group calls, so you sort of know where to go. But it's really interesting sometimes that you'll see somebody bring their own matter into the coaching, but it totally resonates with more people. And I think the nicest thing, what you get from being in groups like that, where there is the connection, is that you're not alone, that you're not the only one going through this, that you're not a failure, or I don't know, just, yeah, other people have their stuff.
Yeah, totally. I think that's the comfort of it, is being reflected. And I think in any membership, I find that in my Heartfelt Story Circle as well, is the people who are ultimately attracted to it, whether they realize it or not, they have the same pain points. And
Mm.
to hear those pain points voiced by another person is so deeply comforting. It's definitely the power of the collective instead of trying to go it alone.
Oh, it can feel so lonely being on your own in business. And, and it's the social media world, the irony. I don't know if you feel this, but I really want to do a podcast about it. But I've said it a few times recently. Social media is not social. It's meant to be. It's meant to be. But actually, and I've found this probably more in personal relationships, it actually is a detriment to our social, because it should be a benefit that I go, hey, everyone, I'm coming to Chicago. Is anyone around? And then I get to bump into someone. Like I've had wonderful occasions like that. Or, oh, Emma, you're in Adelaide. Let's catch up. That's been amazing. But I've had also those situations where somebody, you go to catch up, you're in person, you're together, and I tell them a story, and they're like, oh, I saw that on social media. And you're like, oh, okay, so what else do you know about social? Like, they think they've seen everything and know everything, and both in family and friendships, they think that they know the whole story. And I think it's called parasocial relationship. And so we're having all these, what we think is a social relationship, and there's a benefit to that where you feel very connected to someone. But the detriment is then if you go, well, then I don't need to see you in person. I don't need to talk to you in person. I'll just watch your socials and I know everything about your life.
Yeah, and the flip side of that is you meet someone in real life who you've engaged with intensely online and they're almost blank. So it's like we don't know how to relate in person despite knowing each other quite well in another environment. It's very interesting, which is why we drive connection and which
Mhm.
is why we run deeply authentic connection driven feeds, so that when people do connect with us, we are just being as much ourselves, or as much the businesses we represent as is possible via a social media medium. But yeah, I know there's so much in social, which is why my Heartfelt Story Circle is so much about well-being. Not It's strategy, yes, but that's only just like 1/3 of it.
Oh, absolutely. And about protecting your energy and choosing what to share. I used to focus on personal brand. I could still do that, but people would then think that they have to share all their personal things. And it's like, no, but there's still things that are just for you and things that are private and things that you don't need to share your entire life. But there are things that you can share which show who you are, which build a connection, that help people come in. And then when they meet you in real life, they get what they're saying. I hope that, us talking now, we haven't really talked one to one, you're getting the same experience as you do in my messages as you would when we get to see each other in person in January.
Yeah.
So that's the goal, I think. But there's people get very confused. I'm not sure if you find this with oversharing.
Mm.
They confuse
Yeah.
personal connection with oversharing.
Yeah, thinking they should, or thinking it needs to be warts and all. We talk about that a lot. Um, the way I describe it is it's kind of like opening a door to your world. You don't have to open the door fully wide. You can just crack it, and it's just to give them a little insight
It's starting a conversation, right?
and connecting with them.
And so you said a bit about the wine industry, and I did hear you on a podcast, and I thought, oh, I want to hear more about that. Like, it makes sense for where you're based, but yeah, that you got your start in the wine industry. Tell us a
I'm
bit.
actually not from Adelaide. I'm from Sydney. I grew up in a craft brewery. My father ran the Lord Nelson Brewery Hotel in the Rocks in Sydney.
Oh,
So he and his partners actually sold it last November. So it's been in our family for nearly 40 years. And so I grew up very entrenched in craft beer. There were speeches at my wedding about Jono, basically the holy grail that he married into a brewery. So booze was always in my life, and the understanding of the craft and the care and the love and the sort of ancient nature of it was always in my life. But I actually didn't study wine to begin with. I did women's studies and Arab and Islamic studies. I thought I was probably going to be a diplomat. And then I had a health issue. I think I got chickenpox and I was so sick. And I just went, what am I doing? I'm not going to get a job doing this. And ironically, this was before September 11. And I always think I probably would have gotten a job, given what then happened in the international landscape. So my second option was wine. And so I applied to move to Adelaide to study wine marketing. And so the rest is kind of history. But I met my husband here. So that's why I'm here. Like I ended up becoming a South Aussie really by default. And I adore it here. I feel kind of like at home. I still love Sydney, but Adelaide's given me a lot of the things I dreamed of that I couldn't have in Sydney, like a really nice house. So yeah.
I'm from Sydney too, so I understand. And now in the Gold Coast, so yeah, lifestyle is a big thing. Yeah.
Yeah. Sydney was rough by the time we left cost-wise. And oh my God, it's just gotten worse. So for raising a young family, I sometimes think if I was older and my kids moved back there, probably I would follow them with a higher disposable income again. But yeah, not in the child rearing years. It was too tough.
But I would say as well, I don't know if you found this about Sydney, but I found there were a few times, and it was probably around that 2011 mark. It felt like a pressure cooker to me. Like there was, I just this time I was in Martin Place, and I just felt like I could feel the rat race. And I was working for myself. I started my business in 2009. I was already working for myself, but just even being there, I could just feel like it had to. I mean, it had to burst at some point.
I think that's interesting because that's exactly the point. We moved in 2013. But I think that's exactly the point where Sydney started to really transition into a very international city. And like you go there now and post-COVID, it is wildly international, isn't it? Like you feel like you could be anywhere in the world. But yeah, we lived in Petersham, and I used to drive my oldest son to his daycare back in Alexandria, which is where we had lived, because it was a great daycare, and Sydney was already impossible to get spots by that point. And it went from a 10 to 15 minute drive over a 3 to 4 year period to a 40-minute drive.
Yeah.
But as the crow flies, it was probably 3 to 4 Ks. And I just went, I don't think I want this anymore. I really want, and also I knew another option because I visited Adelaide a lot. I looked at the houses, there's house porn here. Like the houses are stunning and they were very inexpensive at that point. They're not now. But at that point, what you got for your money here was like a 4-bedroom house with a pool, and we sold an apartment in Alexandria. So, it was a no-brainer. We were able to make that call early for that reason.
And it has to be about a lifestyle. And I think that I also found this when I was living in two different places. So I lived in Sydney, then moved to Melbourne. And so at the time I left Sydney, having grown up there as well, growing up, going to uni, working, there's always something on. And I think there is always something on in Sydney. Like it is a busy international city, as you say, but I also knew so many people. So there was always so much to do. Everything's a 40-minute drive and everything is spread out. And I was always going to places and to people. And it was always me doing that. And then I moved to Melbourne, and I got that freedom of, I don't have to go anywhere, or people have, I say, come to me. And I loved Melbourne's a very localized, it's very community, very insular. And I liked that because then I got to really be wherever I was living. I was very much in that place, and it was like, come to me, not going out. But by the time I'd lived there for 3 years, I found that I was doing that again. I was going out all the time. I wasn't actually enjoying my city. I wasn't enjoying Sydney. I didn't get to do any of the things that are amazing about Sydney. I wouldn't even walk down the beach sometimes. And I lived, at the time I didn't live in Coogee, but I wouldn't even go, wouldn't even tell you what's around my area because I was always just at working or at events. And the same in Melbourne. I got to a point where I was always traveling from Melbourne. And so I actually enjoy Melbourne a lot more now. Because when I go there, I enjoy it as the city that it is. So I ended up moving back to Sydney, and then I've moved to the Gold Coast. But it was so nice when I first moved back to Sydney, and even now when I visit, because I actually appreciate and see Sydney, the beautiful city it is. But if I were living there, I'd lose all of that again.
Yeah, no, I agree. We do the same. We're tourists in Sydney out now, and it's so much fun.
It's an incredible city, and I think for those who are doing like their gap year or maybe who live in an area and they make the most of it, but it's so easy, even where we live now, it's so easy for anyone, anywhere, whatever you're doing, to forget and to not see your area
Mm.
the way that others would. So I think it's that appreciation and gratitude and just having that time and space, which isn't always a luxury when life is there and work is there and all those sorts of things. But yeah, people would come to Adelaide and be like, I went here and I did this and I went to the wine region, and you're like, oh, I haven't been for ages, but I hope getting to work in it, you get to go a little bit.
Well, I think the thing with Adelaide is it is really easy. So,
Mm.
so we look after the Adelaide Hills wine region. It's one of our major clients, and it is 25 minutes up the hill. You can be there. Like you can do things on a whim like that here, which I never really did in Sydney. I always planned things, but here it's, yeah, that is absolutely the plus of this place. It's much quieter in a lot of ways if you're a young person, but for someone my age, it's pretty wonderful.
Are we talking Adelaide Hills? Are we talking like McLaren Vale and
Yeah.
Harndorf and yeah.
Yes, Arndorf's in the Adelaide Hills, and then it's so basically there's three wineries within an hour. Sorry, three wine regions within an hour. And so Adelaideans are very used to getting out of the city as a weekend or daily thing. It's not uncommon that we would drive, an hour on a weekday. We do it with clients all the time, but my husband, he'll go to Langhorne Creek, which is an hour and a bit away, to deliver smoked fish because he has a little smoked fish business. So you just do stuff like that here easily because it is, the route out of the city is free flowing. It's not like Sydney where it's 2.5 hours before you're out. So yeah, it is. It's a lovely lifestyle for that. And I think again, as a Sydney girl, I didn't really know that was possible until I lived here.
Yeah. And I
You
love
know,
that you made that choice. And then you still get to appreciate Sydney. But something you wrote to me that was really interesting, and a question that I always ask on this podcast is, what does living a life you love look like? And that made you a bit nostalgic, but also very hopeful. So can you tell us what your plans for living a life you love look like now?
It's funny because when you sent this to me, I'd just come back from Japan and I'd had a real, like, in a way, a bit of a dark night of the soul and a bit of a wonderful realization. I'm coming to the end of my motherhood journey as an intensive journey. I know we never finish being mothers, but, as that intensive child raising period of my life, I'm not quite finished, but I'm getting very close. And when we were in Japan, it really hit me with my two sons and my husband that this could be one of the last family holidays we have because my eldest son turns 20 in March. And he's going to go start going his own way more and more. It's not to say he might not join us, but I just kind of got that it was probably the last time that mum and dad were in charge. And, this we curated the trip and whatever. And so that hit me actually with a lot of grief. I had a real moment of grief during the trip. But what it also hit me with is my 20s were spent traveling. I finished my HSC and I worked at Dad's pub for 4 months and I went straight to the UK and I was a nanny in the UK for a year and then I traveled for a year and then I worked in Hong Kong on the way back. And then I met a guy in Hong Kong who worked for Berlitz Languages and I went back to China multiple times to teach English. And I was such an adventurous version of myself. It was just what lit me up. And I often ask my mother, like, why did you let me go? Because I think I was way too young to be gone entirely from home. And she went, Jess, I would have had to sit on you. And even then you would have still gone. Like there was nothing I could do. You were gone. The minute you could go, you were gone. And I think in Japan, I reconnected with her a bit. I was a really good traveler. I loved it. I love travel. I love absorbing culture and food. My husband's a big part of our travel is we always go to supermarkets. We love them. Love supermarkets in local places just to explore the food. And I travel because I just love standing in history. And when we were in Japan, we went to a temple called Kaya in Kyoto, which is from 748 AD. And I think that's when I had the real moment of realization that this is the me I want back again. And I'm so excited for the next decade, the next 2 decades, the next 3, if I can make it that far with travel. But I really look forward to being able to be back doing that. I don't do it for work so much, but it allows me the space to reflect and to absorb and to build my wisdom, which is probably one of my deepest values. And I think in that sense, it really enhances my business, because every time I travel, apart from the obvious time off and self-care, I come back wiser about something, and usually to do with my business too.
Oh, I think there's so much inspiration and clarity, and I'm going to India next week, and I'm so excited because, yeah, just the spaciousness, literally the going up in the plane, like you're elevated, it's expansive, and then seeing things with new eyes. And I think that's a nice thing about traveling with children or younger people, is they do force you to look at things differently, but then also you're very in it. So then it's nice being alone, or maybe just with your husband, and there will be more time to have that awe and wonder and be able to soak it in. But I know what you mean about the wisdom and the history, because I went to Persia, to Bahrain, and we had like touched on Persian history and ancient history in school, but I didn't know much. It was kind of like just the Sparta Persians, that was it. But when you're there, I mean, this whole part of the world, and so much they'd contributed, and I just wouldn't have had the inclination to go and seek out that information. But once I was there, and you go to the museum, and then you're in it and you're seeing the places, I think it does add a lot of depth. And I know that not everybody gets that luxury. It is, but it is a choice. You chose to spend your time going there, and to go to that temple and to be in that place so that you could gain that. So that's a choice.
And that's the same, even if you're here, learning, like we've talked about Adelaide. A lot of people don't know about Adelaide, and I laugh because I'm not an Adelaidean, so I don't have the perspective on it that people who have grown up here, that they feel a bit like undervalued in the greater scheme of Australia. I just think, oh my God, come and see Adelaide. It is brilliant here. And I think, it is, yes, the wisdom, but it is also perspective. And a lot of people learn through doing. More of us learn through doing than by rote. And so when you are in a place absorbing, doing, and we're all energy, whether you feel that or not, the fact is it's science. So you are picking up something when you're there, and seeing it in a much more empathetic way. It's such a important thing, I think, for consciousness raising, ultimately, to travel in some way.
And I think that you're right about allowing those feelings too. I think sometimes travel or holidays, vacations are glorified. I really love that you talked about that you had a moment of grief. Like sometimes the travel might be for releasing, and I think we do tend to put a rose-colored glasses on it, all travel. When, my brother and I were talking the other day about, he's like, I've only had like, we were talking about somebody had their bag stolen. And we're like, that's never really happened to us. And then someone else, they'd been on like 2 flights in their life, and one of them had like an emergency directing. And I'm like, I've never had that. And my brother's like, I've only had like this one thing happen. And I said, wait a minute. You had a time where you were hospitalized due to a staph infection in Germany. And we gloss over all of that. And not that we want to stay in the negative, but I did actually say to him when he got back from 2 years of travel, living in London, you actually have to remember the bad times, because you get lessons out of those too. And that you don't glorify that everything will be better when I'm traveling. It's like, no, it's a different perspective, and life is still life, and you will still have feelings and emotions, and it's okay to cry. It's okay to feel sad about your sons not traveling with you, or your children not traveling with you in the future, but also be happy that you're doing it now. Like, it doesn't have to be one thing, but it's like,
I think that's so true. I think, I think I'm, again, because I have been a long time traveler, I'm quite a realistic traveler. It's like, I always expect someone to get sick. I hope we don't, but I always expect it. And so these are all the things that I kind of go into it being like, yes. And it's very likely it won't be a great time unless you know how to run the time according to your energy. So my family, we really can't do a lot. We're a one big thing a day, then one thing in the evening, then we need to kind of have a nana nap. And it took me a while to learn that rhythm, because we did a few holidays that weren't like that, or were with family members who have a very, very a much higher level of energy than we do. And it wasn't great for us. So it took us a little while. But once we learned that, we've gotten really good at doing it that way. And so we tend to have pretty good holidays. But yeah, not everything's always like Japan. Oh my God, the humidity was horrific. And I had cankles, and my ankles are the only skinny part of my body, and they were so fat. And I was like, this isn't fun. But what am I going to do next time? I'm probably not going to come at this time of year.
Yeah.
And I'm buying sandals, travel sandals, which my husband said, I'm not walking around with you. I went, no, I'll find nice ones. There'll be nice ones out there. But I'm going to have travel sandals in my arsenal for next time, that maybe I can't wear sneakers in a hot
I have
climate.
very lovely Gorman / Birkenstock collab sandals.
Oh,
So yeah, there are stylish sandals.
yes,
And I've got some, they say like Jesus sandals from Nepal, and they were actually men's sandals because I got big feet. So the little dainty sandals don't suit me, but they're proper leather, great sole. I got compliments on them all the time. So tell your husband, yeah, I'll
yes,
keep an eye out for you in India. I'll find some. I'll
yes.
be like, these are Jessamyn's sandals. I'll get them. I love that. I love that perspective and the like going in it with a realisticness, but also understanding yourself. And I think that takes time and wisdom, and also understanding the season you're in. I never thought I'd be a resort style holiday person. I liked cruises, but I liked it for the activities. Now I love the cruise because of kids club. There's a gym. My husband goes to the gym, and I get to sit on my balcony. We do minimum balcony because I'm like, I can be alone on my balcony, staring at the ocean into the abyss. And I like working on the balcony. I get the internet package. I like to work out there, but it's my quiet time, and everybody can do what they want to do. They can eat when they want to eat. They can do activities when they want to eat. Activities when they want to do them. And we're going to Samoa in January, and it's a nothing holiday. It's a snorkel, beach, relax. Again, they've got babysitters, they've got nannies. And I just didn't think I'd be that person. But yeah, 20 years ago, I wasn't that person. That's not the season I was in. And I did the literally running from site to site in New York City. And I don't want to do it anymore. But then there might become a time where it is this type of trip where it's a tour and you do go, go, go. And that's okay for that trip or for that person that you're with. I think it's so wonderful that you have all recognized what it looks like for you.
Mhm. Yeah, no. And like you, we went through a season where holidays became very different and quieter, and we really appreciated them. Um, and I think what I loved about Japan is we were back a bit to where we were 20-year-old self, where we were walking 20,000 steps a day because the boys are old enough and they're wanting to see things. But even then, we are still not a fit everything into we are okay with letting things go. We're like, we can't see it all. That's okay. Probably we'll be back. And we're already planning our next Japanese trip, actually. So yeah, I think you just got to find your rhythm, what your unique rhythm is. And yeah, each stage of your life is different. I am looking forward to the next one where I do just perhaps hit the footpath all day long and potter. My husband and I might go our own ways a bit. We'll come back together and go our own ways. That's like the most perfect holiday for me.
So good. So many things to look forward to, but also enjoying the season you're in. And I'll finish by asking, like, what, I talk about pleasure and obviously we talk about living a life you love, but like, what does, you said you don't necessarily travel for work, but how do you make that harmony work for you? So a bit of business, a bit of leisure, a bit of self-care. Like, what's your kind of harmony combination?
Well, I have to say that's been a work in progress for me, and a lot of unpacking and a lot of health issues to unpack it. But now travel is imperative as part of that. And because it's the most connection-driven activity I can do for myself and my family, I think a lot of people would resonate with this, but life at home is busy and we don't connect enough. But if we go out to a restaurant together, it's brilliant. If we go on a holiday together, it's just we went to the Riverland a couple of years ago just as the floods were starting, and really just to support, to try and support the area because they were having terrible time, tourist numbers wise. And that was beautiful. Like, it was 3 days we ate in local pubs. The boys loved it. We had lived there, Jono and I, so it was nice to show them. That's really important to me, but it's also, I think, going forward, what's really important to me, I'm realizing, is time for myself. And So I intend to do more retreats. I went on my first retreat at the end of October, and it was just beautiful. It was with Adelaide Yoga Therapy, who's my tenant here, and it was just a beautiful, still, quiet retreat on the Murray River. And I came back, I could feel it for the next 48 hours. I was a different human. Um, so more of that is really, it's not just a luxury, it's actually a necessity. And I wrote about this the minute I got back. It's it's what I need to be a sustainable business owner and operator. And I think I can now allow myself to think like that. I can tell you 5 years ago I couldn't think
Mhm.
like that. That would have been a luxury and, indulgent, and you're not working hard enough. My self-talk would have all been absolutely imperative and a necessity. And if you don't do it, you're not going to be able to run this business for another 10 years. And I really do plan to be running this business in some iteration for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So it's important that I do that. And I think it's also my team starting to see that. So I kind of love that in a way that they're starting to learn through me that it's okay to have this, because I've been I've been the example of how it doesn't work and how
Mhm.
it could work, because they've seen firsthand for the last 5 years, or at least Jen, who's been with me that whole time, has. So I definitely, and then yes, connection with my husband, I'm really excited for that, because marriage is a really hard thing to get through. And if you can get to, we're 22 years married this year, and it has not been easy. And that's another narrative I feel really strongly about, it being more public, that
Mhm.
marriage is really not easy, and it's a constant, journey of reconnecting and recommitting in some way. But I actually can say now I'm really excited about the next decade and time with him together doing things like that, because we're very aligned in travel and adventures and food and um, the things we like to do. So I'm really excited, and hopefully seeing my kids out and about around the world. My son's studying paleontology, and I just feel
Oh,
like in my gut, he won't be here for that long. He'll probably study in Britain or Europe, and I think, I look so forward to being able to go and see him in the places he might end up. So
I
yeah,
love.
it's definitely business ticks along at the same time. And, because it's my own, I have built it so that I will allow this flexibility. Um, but the travel is going to be a really important part
And
of the
I think
next
it can
20, 30
thrive.
years.
I think it can thrive. I do truly believe it. And that sustainability you talk about, I love that. I say travel is self-care. Travel is self-care. But not when you're doing it in that fast-paced way. And we've both done, the travel work, travel work, travel work. It's got to have that self-care piece in it. And what that looks like to you is different to what it looks like to me. I think also we can have some grace. Like, obviously, you've had your own life stuff. But 5 years ago, we were in COVID too. And it was like just, we had nothing else to do. So we will work, work, work. We had 2 year block where we lost that anticipatory joy. We lost that being able to plan. We lost being able to look forward to things because it was taken away and taken away and taken away. So that we're sort of relearning that and remembering that and rediscovering that, and that it is safe for us to plan, to get excited and to look forward to, because we can, or we can, and we can find ways to do it if we can't do that, because there are times in life when we can't go quite so far afield. How you found that beautiful way to go local, and just those simple things of, I bumped into my son and my husband this morning. I was doing my next client alignment audio on the beach, and this person started running towards me, and it was my son. They were on the beach, so we did a bit of a walk together, some simple, beautiful things like that. But we have to choose, and I love that you're making these choices for you, and you're going to be such a beautiful example to your team as well, and you are. So I love it.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like they've seen it warts and all. When we're talking warts and all, the team have probably seen it warts and all, but I'm coming to this place where it's better. And yes, I look forward to doing more retreats. That's
Yay!
for sure.
Well, that's music to my ears. Amazing. So how can we connect with you, Jessamyn, and your beautiful approach to social media and your beautiful approach to work? How can we find you?
So we're active on most channels, apart from TikTok. I'm a bit old for that. Felt Brand Stories on Instagram and Facebook and LinkedIn. I'm there. And feltbrandstories.com is our website as well. And yes, we are kind of the gentle corner of all this. Very nurturing, very supportive, very counselling driven in how we help people, and very intuition. Aligning strategy, storytelling, and intuition is really the core of what we do.
Amazing. Well, you're going to send us all your links and for your wonderful membership as well. We'll pop them all in the show notes. Thank you so much for your time, and I've loved connecting with you, and I can't wait to have some in-person connection and in January when I come to your beautiful...
Okay, yes.
Yes.
Yes, I look forward to giving you a big hug.
Thank you so much for your time, Jessamyn.
Emma.
Thank you for listening, lovely one. I hope this has inspired you to dream big and start creating a life you love today. If you love what you're hearing, don't forget to follow and rate on Spotify, and rate, review, and subscribe on iTunes. It helps other awesome people to find this podcast and get motivated and inspired as well. Want to stay connected? Come and join the Live a Life You Love group on Facebook, or connect with me on Instagram, emmalovell.au. The same as my website, but all the details are in the show notes, lovely. I'll see you next episode for more inspiration, motivation, and freedom seeking. Now go out there and live a life you love.